We're now moving to the Makerspace session. So this is 15 minutes or so with the Sunshine Coast Makerspace crowd. Can I invite Deep Orange Designs, Mike Black and the Makerspace gang up to the front? Before we start grilling you some questions, give us the 30-second elevator pitch of what each of you do.
I'm Dominic and I make stuff.
Good. That's very efficient. Is that ephemeralisation?
I'm Neil. I help people make stuff.
I do have some slides.
And I'm Mike, and we're all makers. And it's really important to see how makers fit into the local ecosystem, how we can help some of the really significant challenges that are around rapid prototyping, testing something out, and not necessarily knowing exactly what you need, but getting help from people that make stuff, taking you to that point of understanding.
Cool. All right, so please, questions from the audience is allowed. This is audience participation time, and if you don't ask a question, I will ask you to ask a question, so watch out. So, Dominic, we were one of the last regions to have a makerspace, so thank you for actually making stuff happen and pulling it together. What do you have there? What can people take advantage of? How does it work for the layman or laywoman in the audience?
So a makerspace is a pretty broad term, makerspace, hackerspace. Our makerspace is focused on being an R&D workshop for hire, so doing commercial projects, being a home for engineers and designers and coders who have got commercial endeavours that they're trying to achieve. So as opposed to being a community-based workshop that is just about being interested in technology and wanting to learn about technology. We do that as well, but we need to keep the lights on somehow, and the way we do that is by doing commercial projects.
And I imagine you've got some tools and kit that not everyone does, so people can get to the makerspace and access that?
Yeah, that's right. So it's a fully equipped engineering workshop, and we have CNC equipment, we've got lasers, we've got fabrication gear, the sort of stuff that you would not be able to have in your home workshop. So we're the step up from what you can do in your garage at home. We can support manufacturers who don't have the capacity or don't have the equipment themselves and are looking for some extra capability.
Excellent. Moving to Mike. Mike, you've obviously a member there and taken advantage of it. And in your intro, you talked about rapid prototyping. Give us an example of, and I think that might be it there, but give us an example of some rapid prototyping you've done.
Yeah, so one of the advantages to having a makerspace over a normal manufacturing facility, because we've all got local manufacturers on the coast, and like you can go to Sunquest Plastics and get a sign made, for example. But the difference is that you need to know what you want. You need to know how it's all going to fit together. You need to know that's your final run. Otherwise, it's really expensive. Whereas at a makerspace, you can iterate multiple times. It didn't work on the laser, cut it again. Cut it again, cut it again. Keep jigging the design until it's what you want. And so a good case of that was, we've got some photos up here. You can probably talk to that one a bit later. But yeah, the idea of we did a project for parking to track parking in Noosa over the Christmas break. The MetroCount existing systems don't have Wi-Fi. And so it was like, well, could we build a system that was equal to the MetroCount system in a few weeks? We did. We deployed it. It was successful. But there's probably 15 iterations before that actually went out. And if that was to be done in any space other than a makerspace, that would have been cost prohibitive.
And I heard Mayor Tony Wellington on ABC Radio last Friday as they were cleaning up from tropical cyclone Osma. He was talking about the success of the parking trial, and so we know how beautiful and popular Noosa is throughout the year, in particular that December-January period. And one of the locals' frustrations is the amount of how much love it does get, and not knowing whether there's a park or how to find a park. So just walk us through how it worked.
Yeah. So usually using the normal sort of pressure tubes on the road, we put together a system that would track when a car would go over it, and it would report back to an IoT platform that we developed, and that would then inform how many cars were coming in and out of different areas, how many car parks were available, just really basic car park tracking stuff. But then we also put another layer over that to discover what is congestion. Like, what actually is the definition of congestion? It's not just how many car parks are full, because if everybody's got a car park and everybody's happy, then that's not congestion. So it was some metrics around the flow of traffic. It was metrics around that, but this had to be built into a small box. We've got the box up the back you can have a look at. Through the process of that, it had to make sense for the Noosa area. So Lions Park, for example, comes straight in off a roundabout. Now, the existing MetroCount systems don't work like that, because they want you to be in a straight line. Because what happens is a car turns over both of the things, and so you get almost...
Double counting.
Well, sometimes, well, actually, it's not... The problem is sometimes you get double counting, sometimes you get 3 hits. And so that's when, well, what is it? What's got 3 wheels? And then you've got other problems where, like, a bus will just stop over the top of both of them, and nothing gets counted after that point. So it was being able to identify that, actually be out there on site, watch it, see what's happening, and go, okay, here's how we're going to adjust our design to accommodate those kinds of scenarios. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying rapid prototyping, is that meant we can go back, refine the design, change the electronics, change the code, change the box, and keep going through that process until it's as accurate as we can make it.
Excellent. Now, Neil, you talked about helping people make stuff. So is that around design communication, and proof of concept? Explain to us your role in this makerspace environment.
So Deep Point Design is a product design consultancy. So we help inventors or people with ideas develop their products from back of a napkin sketch to a fully functional prototype that's ready for manufacturing. So the process involves the same thing that Mick touched on, a lot of iteration. But what I generally help people with is taking the product to be almost manufacturing ready. So there's a process of testing and trialing products to make sure that the concept works, which is the proof of concept, which is kind of what Mick has done in that particular project. The concept works, the technology is there, this is how it's going to function. And then to get it manufactured, there's a whole other process that has to happen to make it cost-effective and manufacturable. And I can help with small inventions, and most of the clients that come to me are businesses that don't have their own R&D departments, that don't know how to develop a new enclosure for their product, and they'll outsource it. Or mum and dad inventors that have got a great idea for a new kitchen gadget, whatever it may be, and they just have no idea where to start. And that's the process that I take them through.
So I've got here, and I'm almost scared to ask this question, My Squeeze. Can you talk me through, I'm going to regret asking that, but can you talk me through the design to manufacture process of mysqueeze.com.au?
Yeah, sure. So My Squeeze is a child's food container. And the client came to me with an idea in her head, and she's a local client. She lives, well, she used to live just up the road, actually. And she wanted to produce something that was a reusable food product for small kids. That's better. And you know those yogurt containers that you get with a little plastic mouth at the top, and you squeeze them, and the food comes out, and you chuck it away? So we replaced that with a reusable product, and we improved it. We made it dishwasher safe, food safe, child safe, easy to use for kids, easy to clean, and obviously very reusable. So we went through a process of working out what it needs to look like, building prototypes. So it's very difficult for somebody in their backyard to build a silicon enclosure product, but we have ways and technologies to do that quite easily and repeat the process quite cost effectively until we hit on the right design. And then, in fact, that's the product up there. And that red container there is actually a silicon product that we prototyped to prove that the concept works. And we took the product all the way through to manufacturing, and well, she did the distribution herself. And yeah, new product manufactured here on the coast.
Wow, terrific. And our family's always used the ones where you throw away, so that's far better for people to be using. So, any questions for the gents from the audience?
Can I just jump in?
Sure.
So if you're from council and you're wondering, well, how can I make benefit of the makerspace. So we've been doing some great work for council already with the placemaking team and with the Smart City Centre. Hi, Scott. So you've got problems you don't know that there are good solutions for, and you haven't really identified that they're problems. And the makerspace is a place where you can come to us and we can assemble a team that can help deliver a solution. You might not know what the solution is, but we've got a really diverse range of skills that we can apply to those problems and help solve those problems within the region that's world class and much more cost effective, and particularly on scheduling, because we can do it within the region. We're not waiting on stuff to be shipped into the country, so we can beat schedules. We've got a great team, a great skill set that we can draw upon to deliver solutions to problems that you've got, whether it's in IT, infrastructure, industrial design, lots of different areas.
Yeah, absolutely. That's when I was thinking, again, talking to Louisa about Unity Water's innovation program. Staff come up with great ideas, but they don't always know how to then bring those ideas to life. So that's a great way from collaboratively to get together with a range of industry experts to come together and identify what the options are. So any questions from the audience?
Sometimes inventors and innovators develop things which have been covered in other ways by industrial designs and protected IP. Do you keep an eye on that stuff as you do your iterations to see that you're not moving into infringement territory or that they're not into? We all have different opinions on this. Neil is the guy to go to if you want to get a rock-solid design and protect it. I'm the guy you come to if you want to get around somebody else's design.
That's it. I'm pretty much in the middle.
That's a complete solution. So we've got the full spectrum covered.
But can I just to add to that, it is impossible to know everything that's out there. So there's always a degree of risk that you have to manage. It'll be irresponsible of any of us to say, yes, we can design your product and it's not going to breach anybody else's intellectual property. So it's always the onus is always on the inventor to be sure that they're not breaching any intellectual property requirements.
As this is being recorded, I have to provide a disclaimer. Sunshine Coast Council neither encourages nor discourages you going around designs of other people's and people's intellectual property. Mark, please.
Guys, can you talk about a couple of products or some products that the average ratepayers might not know that you've been involved in, some products that are out there in the market or soon to be launched that you believe are going to have some impact that perhaps no one knows about yet that you've been involved in?
I'm involved in some cool project at the moment, but sorry, I can't talk about any of them.
I know Dominic's been involved with you, but
You can talk to that because
ones that you
we're all.
publicly mentioned.
Yeah. This is the problem. We're a contract R&D company, so we've done all sorts of really cool things we can't talk about. But you might have one.
So recently we worked with the placemaking team to deliver an outdoor display for the Maze Canal cycleway. So the standard solution didn't fit the requirements of the placemaking team. It was too wide for the installation location, so they wanted something that was going to be less obtrusive, narrower, have a smaller footprint, and it displays the pedestrian count of pedestrians and cyclists as they cross the bridge. So it connects to a web service, uploads information, and then that gets processed and then it can be sent to the display. The display can also be configured to show weather, local events, things like that. The standard solution was going to be not fit for purpose. It was going to take, I think, 16 weeks to get here, and there was 6 weeks before the ribbon cutting ceremony when the purchase order was signed, and we delivered it on time. So we were like really stoked that we got a crack at that project because it was a pretty cool project. There was some growing pain with it, some teething problems, but I think it's a really great example of the type of quality of the work that can be done locally It was a multidisciplinary project. We didn't do all of the work. We used 4 local companies to help us with it, but it was like a cottage industry project. It was small teams, 1 or 2 people here and there doing different aspects of the job, and we assembled an A-team to be able to deliver that. So otherwise, we're just ordering it from Hyundai in Taiwan. So where's the value for the local community to do something like that? The other thing was, which I found out after I pitched the quote, and I kind of kicked myself, but council's win, I guess, was that we were about $10,000 under the competition. It's like, oh, man. So that kind of sucked, but anyway.
You didn't get that on tape, did you, Charles? No, the celebration? No, look, we want local providers to make money, and as I said at the start, and this is what I love about these guys, is the ability to now bring your ideas to life on the Sunshine Coast, and the best gift we can give any of the presenters so far today, and the ones coming, is a customer. And council as a customer, Unity Water as a customer, UE as a customer, USC as a customer, will help them grow and be more successful beyond the region. So please join me in thanking Dominic, Mike and Neil.